Story 1. When you are working on something like continuous progressive work, leave your work on something interesting so it is easy to restart. This approach works with coding projects, writing books, and even constructing things. Story 2. Being polite to customer service representatives may seem basic, but it is surprising how often you receive upgrades, refunds, or quicker assistance simply by being kind to the person who handles everyone's frustrations all day. Story 3. I had a young woman working for me. We collaborated closely on several projects, which allowed us to get to know each other well. She was very capable, but there were times when she could be challenging. However, everyone at work, from the chief executive officer to the loading dock, loved her. I once asked her why everyone appreciated her so much. She explained that whenever an interaction ended, regardless of its nature, even if it was contentious, she always said or did something nice about that person. This way, she believed the last thought they had of her would be a positive one. Once I learned this was her approach, I started observing it during larger meetings. Sure enough, she did it genuinely. It reminded me of Maya Angelou's saying that while people may not remember what you say, they will remember how you made them feel. Story 4. Quickly build a meaningful relationship with someone. 1. Compliment them on something they do well. Be as specific as possible. Ask them for advice on how you can also do this well, just like them. Listen intently to their advice and apply it. Follow up with them and share the great results you experienced by applying their advice. They will appreciate you, support you, go out of their way to help you, and will always give you the benefit of the doubt when you make a mistake. This approach can even lead to strong commitments. Only use this with people with whom you genuinely want a relationship. It's that powerful. No one on this planet is immune to this tactic if done sincerely. Story 5. The things people say about others behind their backs always have a way of getting back to the person being talked about. I realized this, and though I have never been one for gossip, I actively started saying nice things about people when they are not around. I'm not sure if I have a reliable way to measure whether it works as a cheat code, but personally, I would feel great if someone told me something nice a coworker or friend said about me when I wasn't present. Story 6. When a task seems too big to start and feels overwhelming, I give myself a 5-minute assignment to work on it before doing something else. 5 minutes of preparation, 5 minutes of research, 5 minutes of cleaning. It's easier to feel overwhelmed by the entire task than by just working on it for 5 minutes at a time. Sometimes you reach the end of those 5 minutes and discover a bit of energy you didn't have before. Story 7. When you walk around at work, carry a piece of paper and glance at it occasionally as if it's important. Everyone will assume you are engaged in something significant. This approach can also be effective for high school students. Story 8. Something I learned as a teenager. When complimenting women you don't know or are not close to, it is best to compliment something they have actively controlled, such as their choice of eye makeup or the color coordination of their outfit. Even a logo can be a nice compliment. Complimenting body parts is risky since you may not know how that person feels about themselves, and it can come across as intrusive. Every time I tell a woman her nails look cool, their faces light up. I enjoy being remembered as the guy who noticed something she put effort into. Story 9. If you act confident, even if you are faking it, people rarely question you. Confidence is essentially the human equivalent of entering a secret code. Story 10. The rate of return on even small amounts of time, such as 2 sessions of 25 minutes per week, spent doing resistance training is a valuable strategy to unlock years' worth of physical and mental health. Invest minutes, reap years. Story 11. I have been a trainer at every job I have ever had. Whenever someone makes a mistake that I have taught them about multiple times, I say, "No problem. It is common to make the same mistake repeatedly." They do not dwell on it. The next time they reach that step, they remember, "This is the thing I have messed up before." Suddenly, they get it right. Lesson learned. Story 12. Be kind, be gentle, be nice. Then, in the rare occasion when you do get upset, people will notice. People who are often upset or aggressive tend to be tuned out. Their baseline is negative. They are always yelling and cursing, so it's not even noticed, just background noise like the boy who cried wolf. But when a nice, Quiet person starts yelling and cursing. Everyone notices. Sweet Deborah, who is always cheerful and pleasant to everyone, when she gets upset and starts crying, everyone thinks that is wrong and immediately drops whatever they are doing to try to set it right. It's not just about yelling and cursing. When the quiet man who never speaks finally speaks up, people listen because it's unexpected. Story 13. This is a significant situation. You know when you're walking along a narrow street and someone is coming toward you, and you end up doing that awkward little, will I go this way or that way, dance with them until you finally get out of each other's way. Excruciating, right? Well, I haven't had to do that for decades. Instead of looking that person in the face on approach, I purposefully look over one of their shoulders, indicating without words which side I intend to pass them. That simple visual cue works every time. Story 14. Learn to ask for help. Normally, we want to solve all situations, issues, tasks, and jobs ourselves, but this is not always possible. Most of the time, we need assistance from others, yet we struggle to accept or request it. Analyze the situation, and if you think it may be beyond your ability, do not hesitate to ask for help. Story 15. If I am waiting for my wife to finish her phone call, stop texting, or get dressed, all I have to do is start a video or a game, and she is instantly done and wants attention. It works every time. Story 16. Retention department. During a phone call to your internet service provider or cellular provider, use this to negotiate cheaper bills. Story 17. When you meet someone new for the first time and they tell you their name, immediately use it in a sentence. This technique helps your brain remember their name more effectively than if you do not use it. Story 18. Crumple your raffle tickets. Slightly uncrumple them before placing them in the box. I win many raffles. Story 19. I think I just found an option for travel by accident. Trains. Hear me out. I dislike flying due to the stress of getting to the airport, waiting in line at security, uncomfortable seats, and the rushed nature of the whole experience. I'm currently on an Amtrak. They offer full dining and bedrooms. I expected the cafe to only have snacks, but they have burgers, breakfast sandwiches, and a menu larger than I've seen at actual restaurants, all at reasonable prices. The seats are comfortable, comparable to first-class seats on a plane, but at a fraction of the cost, and I am on the cheapest option. There are charging ports, which some airlines I've used did not provide. The only downside is that it takes longer to reach your destination, but the experience is so enjoyable that I wish my trip were even longer, and it's already 5 hours. I may never fly again. Story 20. Be quick to apologize. I struggle to say I am sorry when I am mad, but if I can say it quickly, I can change my mindset and get out of that anger state. Story 21. Honestly, read the instruction manuals of the things you own, especially cars and consumer electronics. Learn what all the buttons do and test all the features. It is beyond me why people do not understand how everything in the cabin of their car works. Coming from a satellite operator background, I encourage you to familiarize yourself with all the controls. Story 22. Dress slightly better than the occasion demands to boost your confidence. This helps people perceive you differently and with more respect. Story 23. A lot of the posts here seem to be along the lines of compliment someone and do it sincerely. Maybe I can sum all these up. Be genuinely nice. Story 24. My dad once told me if you were going to create something and you know you were being insincere, go all in. I once forgot about a paper until the evening before it was due for one of my English classes in college. I wrote about archetypes and provided a detailed character analysis of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul's complex relationship because I was binge-watching the Clone Wars animated series at the same time. Not only did I receive an A, but my professor complimented me on the originality of my work and how it introduced new perspectives on the concept of antiheroes and the shortcomings of strict moral codes. My dad laughed heartily when he read it. Story 25. I am nearly 40 years old, trying to become a professional author and currently in the process of querying. A development editor I hired, who was paid to provide honest feedback, told me that she loved my story and that it has a serious chance of getting published. I may not be Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson, but I am a competent writer. I reached this point by writing poor work, reading excellent work, and accepting criticism about my writing. I did this for 30 years. Whatever you want to excel at, keep practicing. Everyone who excels at something became skilled by first being inexperienced. So put in the practice regularly, even if you struggle with it. Story 26. When dealing with an angry customer, the best thing you can do is actively listen. Allow them to express their concerns, take notes, and address their grievances once they have finished speaking. Most angry customers simply want to be heard. I have seen customers transition from shouting to cheerfully chatting after just a few minutes. Story 27. I am an attorney, and occasionally, I handle cases in counties where I am not entirely familiar with the local rules. I have found that when I ask questions of court staff, they are usually helpful. However, if I mention that I am a first-year attorney trying to navigate the situation to avoid disappointing my supervisor, most of the time, those individuals will go out of their way to assist me. Story 28. I had a boss who would always make a show of turning her phone over and physically turning away from her computer screen when I came to ask her something. It made me feel valued and important enough to receive her full attention. I committed to incorporating this practice into my personal and business life. It's a game changer. Now, I never hold my phone when anyone asks me a question. Story 29. If you want a response from someone, especially in writing, ask for advice. People enjoy giving advice, and they will often address other points you mentioned as well. Additionally, if they give you advice, you can follow up by asking for feedback. Once they are invested, people tend to be more positive. Story 30. Never be rude to a secretary or receptionist. Always be nice to the secretary, whether at a company you work for or one you are visiting. The secretary can make or break you. Need to cut through red tape? Who manages most of it? Your paperwork can be processed quickly or can sit on a desk for days or even get lost. Back in university, I needed a paper signed by several faculty members. I knew some didn't like each other and some were only in at certain times of the day. I asked the department secretary for advice on whom to approach and when. Rather than just give me that information, she said, "Just leave it with me. Come back this afternoon." She saved me a lot of time, and every faculty member would sign anything she told them to. I've also seen someone destroy himself. I was working during interviews and walked into the chief executive officer's office as he was finishing an interview with a candidate. I never found out how it went. The CEO's secretary walked in and told him, "If you hire the guy who just left, I quit." The CEO gave her a questioning look, but she simply raised a hand to indicate she wouldn't say more. The CEO tore the candidate's resume in half and theatrically put it in the garbage. The secretary walked back to her desk. I never did find out what the candidate had said or done to her, but he ruined his interview before it even started. Story 31. It is simple. Just be kind to others, especially those who are in a position to help you. I see people calling support and immediately start using profanity towards the first representative who answers the call. If I were in that position as the employee, my response would likely be the minimum level of service I could provide while keeping my job, and I would not go out of my way to accommodate any requests that might go against policy or charge. Be polite and courteous. Explain the situation, and ask the representative if they would be willing to assist you in resolving the issue. You are guaranteed to get further this way. Story 32. I try random area codes followed by 867-5309 at gas stations for reward cards that give me discounts of 5, 10, 15, or sometimes even 30 cents off a gallon if I'm lucky. For those who don't understand, it is the famous phone number from a song, and people use it as a throwaway, so it is essentially activated everywhere. I have been using it successfully for the last 2 years since I found out, and it has been incredible. I try to share this with everyone I can. Story 33. When I find something that triggers me, instead of reacting, I take a moment to contemplate why it affects me. I then try to see the positive in it and move on, not letting it affect me negatively. Story 34. Please and thank you when making requests. When I started working in security and had to ask loiterers and solicitors to move along, a polite "please leave the property" worked about 80% of the time. Story 35. If you are ever at a store with a rewards program where you enter a phone number to get coupons and deals, when prompted, Enter your area code plus 867-5309. Welcome 20, Welcome 10, and Welcome 15 are coupon codes that often work for first-time online customers. Variations like Spring 20, Fall 20, Summer 20, and Winter 20 also tend to be effective. Story 36. When in public, I make sure not to block others' way. I am courteous and patient. Do not hold up lines, and do not cough or sneeze with my mouth open. The magic is that it seems to reduce the number of hassles I encounter. Story 37. Being kind, patient, and polite is far more effective at getting what you want compared to being abrasive and rude. Story 38. The rule of yes, or the yes method, is a proven sales technique used to encourage agreement. Start by gaining small agreements on minor matters. For example, you can express opinions you know they share or make simple requests, such as asking to borrow a pen. Gradually, you can lead them to agree to the larger request you have in mind. This method also works in reverse. If someone has disagreed with you recently, they are more likely to disagree with you again. Story 39. I found that being sincere with people about my feelings is like a cheat code. For example, I might interact with someone and say something like, "I apologize in advance for being worked up about this. And this is why." This approach seems to capture people's attention when you clearly express where you're coming from and why. Story 40. When you receive a speeding ticket, request a new court date from the one listed on the ticket. All officers set the same appearance date for the tickets they issue, which is usually one of their days off. If you change the date, it is unlikely the officer will appear in traffic court on the day you choose. Other officers may offer you a reduced charge to persuade you to plead guilty to an infraction at the clerk's desk, avoiding the need to appear before the judge due to the missing officer. If you do appear before the judge, they might dismiss the charge without the officer present to confirm the facts. Story 41. Whenever I meet someone new, whether as a friend, a potential date, or in a work relationship, I always use the notes section under their contact information to jot down any tidbits I learn, such as their birthday and their likes and dislikes, including food and drink preferences. This way, the next time I meet up with them, I have conversation topics and ideas for what to order at the restaurant that will impress them because I remembered. People love when you recall the little things. Story 42. Whenever I feel flustered, tired, run down, irritable, or just a bit off in a way I can't explain, I drink a big glass of water. Then I have another. Suddenly, I feel much better. I think sometimes our bodies don't effectively signal that we are thirsty. We just have to look for clues. Story 43. If someone is in your blind spot, signal that you are changing lanes, and they will often speed up instead of slowing down. Story 44. 1. Invest in yourself through skill development and health. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals. Set boundaries with friends, family, and acquaintances. When you have succeeded, give back to those in need and to those who helped you along the way. Story 45. You can get just about anywhere with a clipboard and a high-visibility vest. It's actually your confidence that gets you in, but the vest and clipboard help you convince yourself to have that confidence, and they discourage others from questioning you. Story 46. I just called my internet provider and informed them that I wanted to cancel my service. I was immediately connected to a representative. They lowered the price by $25 per month without me having to argue about anything else. The call took about 10 minutes. It is annoying that you have to make the call in the first place, but it is definitely worth it to do so. Story 47. Being nice and friendly involves not being demanding, but rather asking politely and accepting that sometimes the answer is no. Story 48. Change that stern look you have all day to a slight smile. Suddenly, people will smile back and even greet you. Story 49. The top 3 that come to mind are: 1. You can rewire your neural pathways into whatever you want. Just decide and enforce it, and eventually your brain will create new pathways while the old ones fade away or get replaced. When you wake up in the morning, try to purposefully feel the emotion of having achieved the greatest thing ever. Remember when you got your degree or finally got the person of your dreams to say yes to a date. Recall the bliss of that moment, Now overlay it at the start of your day. Your brain cannot tell the difference between real and imagined achievement. If you want, you can boost your happiness by doing literally nothing. If you want to create a specific desired outcome to repeat in your favor, say at work, do not ask for it. Instead, act happy and excited anytime you receive that thing. People tend to want to make others happy, and doing this will condition the person you are working with to give you what you want because they seek the happy response you give them. They feel good, you get what you want, and it is harmless. Story 50. Boldly admit when you don't know something and show genuine curiosity to learn. People will respect you for your honesty and be excited to share their knowledge. How I learned this. During a college lecture with 250 people, the professor transitioned into the topic of Keynesianism. You all know about Keynesianism, right? John Maynard Keynes. Is there anyone here who doesn't know what I'm talking about? My hand was the only one raised. Good. Good for you. They don't know what I'm talking about either. I still remember what Keynesianism is 30 years later. Story 51. To take off a t-shirt in a cool way, raise one arm, grab the sleeve, and pull it up and over your head. Story 52. Being kind to customer service representatives sounds simple, but if you are patient, respectful, and friendly, they will often go out of their way to help you. It is like unlocking a secret level of service that most people never see. Story 53. Being kind on the phone when interacting with people or customer service can make a significant difference. Unless you encounter a difficult person or a pushy salesperson, you will be surprised at how far polite language and a calm tone can take you. People are often willing to help you reduce your bills, secure better deals, and expedite processes. Additionally, it is rewarding for the representative to hear appreciation from someone who is reasonable and courteous, as they often deal with frustrated individuals throughout the day. Story 54. On a daily basis, consider how you can help someone or improve their lives without them ever knowing. It makes you a better person, makes the world a little better, and brings joy when it works out. Story 55. If you are experiencing a panic attack, run cold water over your wrists. Use this moment to check in on your breathing while holding onto the sink. If you are uncertain whether you are having a panic attack, give it a try and see if it helps. Story 56. Being nice and positive without backtalk can definitely be an advantage. However, it can potentially have negative effects in the long run. Story 57. If you live in the United States, use a virtual private network to connect to a different country when you rent a car for use in the United States. It's often cheaper and can sometimes provide discounts of up to 50%. If you are ever asked, simply say you were traveling when you booked the car. Just make sure to have your passport with you. Story 58. If you visit a takeaway, find out the nationality of the people serving you. Next time you go, if English isn't their first language, say thank you in their language. It takes just a couple of minutes to Google and memorize a few phrases like thank you and goodbye. Not every time, but likely more than half the time, you might receive free items, and the world becomes a little more welcoming. Story 59. If you need a rewards account, use your local area code and 867-5309. Jenny is guaranteed to assist you. Story 60. If you don't want to have an uncomfortable silence with someone, just ask questions about them. People love to talk about themselves and do not expect them to ask many questions in return. I sometimes judge people when I notice this behavior, whether it is good or bad. Story 61. One for work. If you are struggling to get assistance with a problem from technical support, pretend you have figured out how to solve it and write that solution down in an email to them. They will feel compelled to correct you immediately. You need to set aside your pride a little, but it's totally worth it for the results. I have done this hundreds of times in jobs at several different companies. Story 62. Kindness sounds simple and generic, but when you treat everyone around you with kindness, you will notice how quickly your life, environment, and everyone's moods, including your own, improve. Story 63. Unless it's an emergency, please don't respond to technically complicated messages during the first hour of my day before I've had my caffeine. I tend to be less capable during that time, and my answers may often be incorrect in ways that seem obvious later. Story 64. Depression is a difficult struggle. I remind myself that I do not truly want to harm myself. My brain is simply chemically unbalanced. This perspective helps me find logic in my despair and feel more grounded when my mind is chaotic. Story 65. If you ever find yourself in a really strange place where, in theory at least, you have absolutely no business being there, having your dog with you is a get-out-of-jail-free card. Story 66. In work situations and meetings, ask open-ended questions that begin with how, what, and why. People will perceive you as interested and likely more intelligent, even if this is your only contribution. If you cannot think of a question, repeating the last word or two that someone has said is sufficient. This often encourages them to continue speaking and elaborate further. Eventually, you may find that you have something insightful to contribute. Story 67. Thanking people in line behind you for their patience encourages them to behave more patiently. It works every time. Adding a lighthearted comment, like, "I'm sorry for being a little clumsy," before expressing your gratitude makes them laugh and improves their mood. Story 68. Working in customer service, saying, "Thank you for your patience," instead of "sorry about the wait," has changed the demeanor of many customers who were frustrated by the delay. Suddenly, they embody patience and are no longer upset about being inconvenienced. Story 69. It's a thought exercise if you are upset or having a bad day. Imagine, in the not-too-distant future, you are diagnosed with an aggressive and terminal form of cancer. You will soon face a difficult death. This is unfortunately not an uncommon situation in the world. In that moment, you would trade everything to simply have a normal day, even one that is tiring or filled with work demands, free of this burden. You then realize the value and beauty of a mundane or mildly difficult day free of serious consequences. This challenging day you are experiencing is actually worth everything in a different but realistic context. For me, it helps recontextualize these difficult but ultimately inconsequential moments that occur and helps separate real problems from temporary inconveniences, allowing for a deeper appreciation of life. Story 70. Half of success is being available. You do not need to be particularly smart or strong. If you are available to help, consult, or simply be present, you will build a reputation for reliability. The more reliable you are, the more opportunities arise. It is also important to recognize what success means to you. Being successful is not always about money or fame. I believe success is about building relationships and developing a toolbox of skills. Story 71. 1. Education. 2. Hard work. 3. Exercise. 4. Eat healthy foods. 5. Be kind. 6. Maintain close relationships with family and friends. Story 72. Flossing your teeth every day is essential. I had terrible teeth and thought I would need dentures by the time I was 30. Flossing, using mouthwash, and brushing my gums daily have significantly improved my dental health. Story 73. As a male, I don't care about fashion, so when shopping with a woman, she would get upset when I didn't have an answer to, "What do you think of this outfit?" Honestly, I cannot tell the difference. But I eventually realized that she wanted validation. She definitely did not want me to love everything. So I came up with a plan that has served me well ever since. I will only like one outfit out of every 3. I mix up the order so she doesn't realize that I am just using math. If I like the first outfit, I will dislike the next 2 by saying something like, "The first one was better," or "That one is definitely your color." These comments mean nothing to me, but they make her feel better and validated that I am an active participant with an opinion. I am not being inconsiderate. She chooses her own outfits, and she looks good in all of them. I am just trying to get through this efficiently. Story 74. It did not look like that from here. I am a fencing referee, and that is the key for us. Fencers and their coaches can be quite argumentative about calls. However, they are only allowed to argue about the application of rules, not the point of fact. So, as soon as you say, "It did not look like that from here," their argument loses its weight. The same principle applies in real life. When someone states X, leading to conclusion Y instead of arguing against Y, address the root by stating that you don't believe X occurred. then why becomes irrelevant. Story 75. There is a restaurant near me that I go to weekly for breakfast. There is always a line, and sometimes I hear the wait is about 45 minutes for a group of two, but my friend and I just ask to sit at the bar and walk right in. The food is amazing, but being able to bypass the wait every time is so much better. Story 76. Communication is the foundation for achieving any kind of resolution. I work in client-facing IT and feel empowered among my peers because I have a talent for explaining complex issues to anyone. I've encountered clients who expressed frustration and made threats towards my coworkers. By rephrasing the issue in a way that the client could understand, they ended up satisfied, spending $2,000 on a new computer, a store membership, and leaving a 5-star review. This success stemmed from giving them a sense of control in the situation rather than allowing them to feel confused. Story 77. Be attentive, listen, and demonstrate interest. People do judge you when they first meet you, but subconsciously, it is more about how they feel during the interaction than about your characteristics, appearance, or what you say. People naturally seek approval and validation, and paying attention to them shows that you care enough to be present. Story 78. Learning how to breathe is essential. There is nothing you cannot get through with the skill you thought you had automatically except drowning. Story 79. Confidence is key to achieving many things in life. Some people struggle to pour liquids from one container to another because they fear spilling, causing them to move slowly. If you move quickly and believe you can do it, you'll succeed. That's life for you. Story 80. Order a pizza without the special dipping sauces. When you pick it up, pay in full and then say, "Oh, I needed my dipping sauce." Most of the time, the person at the counter will hand it to you for free. Story 81. To get what you want when calling customer service, sound upset but respectful. Pull yourself back and say, "I'm sorry. I know it's not you, but the company. Is there any way to assist me?" If it is at all possible, they will help you get what you need. Story 82. Be kind, polite, and forgiving with service representatives, and you will often receive better service than the average customer. This kindness must be genuine, which can be challenging if the representative is unhappy or makes a mistake. However, I promise it makes a significant difference. It is truly disheartening how little respect and kindness most service representatives receive. When I say, "That's okay, no big deal," with a genuine smile, it often becomes the highlight of their day. This simple act can change their demeanor and encourage them to go out of their way to assist me. Story 83. At the end of a job or school interview, ask the interviewer what they liked about your application. This prompts them to share positive thoughts about you, which can leave a favorable impression in their memory. Story 84. Ask people about how their family is doing and stay current. Did their daughter just make the varsity team for the first time? Inquire about how the season is going every few weeks. Is their mother unwell? Every so often, ask how she is doing and let them know you are thinking about her. Perhaps you have a family member who has gone through something similar. Did they mention that their granddaughter just celebrated her 2nd birthday? Ask to see pictures. People will respond positively if they feel that you are connected or at least interested in their family. The only rule is to avoid this approach if you do not intend to genuinely care. If people are willing to share intimate details of their lives with you, treat that information with respect. Don't be insincere just to expand your social circle. Story 85. When making nearly any purchase, I jokingly say I left my coupons at home, and usually the cashier finds a code or coupon to enter into the system, allowing me to save a few dollars. Story 86. Okay, this is far less helpful but a lot more funny. Mid-conversation with someone or while they are on an unrelated phone call, casually hand them a random item and they will take it automatically. Story 87. Hang up on someone while you are talking. People will think the phone dropped and will wait before trying to call back. Story 88. Save money. One of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me was, your plans and goals throughout life are going to change, but money gives you options. Story 89. If you isolate the individual drumbeats from the song Pump Up the Jam by the Belgian supergroup Technotronic and arrange them in a circle, It unlocks a cheat mode that allows you to pass through solid surfaces at will. Story 90. I recently discovered a helpful tip. When asked for your phone number at a rewards club, enter your area code followed by 867-5309. This way, you avoid the hassle of signing up for rewards, can enjoy any available discounts, and might even receive a reward. A few days ago, I used this at a feed store and received $5 off my purchase. Story 91. Most of the advice is to always be kind. Being kind is a two-way interaction. There is no point in being nice if the other person is disrespectful. It's better to address issues directly. Story 92. Your contact lens and eyeglasses prescription stabilizes. There is no need to pay $300 or $400 for an eye exam every year. You can resume that once you reach your 50s and 60s. Online websites offer a webcam eye exam for $20. While it cannot change your prescription, it can simply renew it, allowing you to order your contacts and glasses at half the cost of a traditional eye doctor visit. Story 93. The way you do one thing is likely how you do most things. Therefore, consider how you approach tasks even when no one is observing you. Story 94. When playing rock, paper, scissors, ask your opponent a question right before you start. If possible, interrupt the countdown and then start it again. Just ask something like, "When was the last time you played this?" It doesn't really matter what you ask. What matters is that they will typically choose scissors on the first turn. Story 95. If you have to deliver bad news, proactively demonstrate the response you expect from the recipient. The painter had a scheduling conflict and cannot get to your job when he promised. Can you believe that he pushed you back instead of making you a priority? I swear, that guy. When you genuinely care and it is not your fault, the recipient may not see it that way and may direct their frustration towards you as the bearer of bad news. By sharing their disappointment, anger, or sadness, you are on their side, and they won't take it out on you. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.